Public Access FC.
Hi, this is Daniel Díaz, host of Public Access FC, a new show about football culture and everything we love about the game. Today, I'm joined by Possum, Flossy, and Gadget from the Fault Line Offenders, one of the newest supporter groups of San Francisco City FC. Together, we're going to be chatting about fan subcultures, how they came together as a crew, and football in SF. Hey, thank you so much for coming onto the show. I'm just going to give short kind of like bios that you all sent me. And then we can kind of get into it. So Possum is a carpenter, a fighter, an SF City FC supporter, a Fault Line Offender, and a member of YOFC. Flossy is a Muay Thai fighter, a trainer, and a lifelong football fan. He's a former active supporter for Sydney FC's home end, the Cove Bay 23. And then Gadget is an SF City FC supporter and Fault Line Offender, knucklehead.
Yeah, nice one.
Your words, not mine.
That's right.
All right, so I start every episode just to kind of like set the tone a little bit with a quote from Football in Sun and Shadow, a book by Uruguayan writer Eduardo Galeano. Kind of pick out quotes that feel, relevant to our guests and kind of before we kind of get into the conversation. So, in football, ritual sublimation of war, 11 men in shorts are the sword of the neighborhood, the city, or the nation. These warriors, without weapons or armor, exorcise the demons of the crowd and reaffirm its faith. In each confrontation between two sides, old hatreds and old loves pass from father to son, enter into combat.
Nice.
That's a pretty fucking cool quote.
It's a good quote.
It's like a really good quote.
I think
I feel
it's...
fired up now.
Yeah, there you go. All right, yeah. I mean, to get it started, I'm just kind of interested to know about each of your kind of like connection to football, your kind of personal story with the sport, and how you kind of came to love it.
Yeah. I grew up playing rec league, just, little league shit basically as a kid. My brother was a real one like that was good at football. So he got like pulled to go try out in England for like the big teams and stuff as a youth. I stopped playing, but I always watched football. I went to his games, and my mom's boyfriend when I was really young, he was like a lifelong Celtic fan, him and his whole family. So like we'd go over to his house, and his dad would have a room of just like memorabilia and one single leather chair with a TV, and that's what he'd do all day, just watch Celtic games. So it was like my introduction to football, and from there it just kind of, that's it. Just kind of took off from there.
Sweet. Lovely.
Yeah, I played every weekend for about 13 years, from under 6s to under 18s. A couple of state league games here and there when I got pulled up for that in the later years. Then shortly after that, the Australian National League formed the A-League, what it is now. Before it was the NSL, but that was all immigrant-based teams at the time. They used to give us free tickets to go, so we used to go watch a couple of them. Never really got into the support until they made the National League, the A-League. And then just 20 years, probably 21, 22 now of the A-League. So just been from season 2, so 20 straight years of support for Sydney FC.
Nice.
I mean, even when I'm here, I'm trying to watch it at 2 a.m. in the morning. Rough. But lucky we get a couple of 10 o'clock games. But yeah, just love football. Coventry City, my team from England. Let's go. But yeah.
Nice. What position did you play?
I was goalkeeper.
Okay.
I was midfield, but I didn't like running, so I ended up in goals. And I actually enjoyed being a goalkeeper.
Yeah.
So it was a good fit.
Nice. Sweet. How about you guys?
I don't have anything as nearly as cool as that. So when I first moved to the city, I just moved right up to the top of Bush and Baker, and right down the hill is the San Francisco Athletics Club, right? So on my days off, like, all right, what else am I gonna do? I'm gonna go down to the bar, I'm gonna grab a beer, and then we were playing soccer games the whole entire day. So I got like super big into the sport right about the top of the pandemic, and kind of just read it the whole rest of the way. So I had some family members who watched Serie A. Inter Milan is kind of like their whole big thing with some of my family members on my mom's side. So that was kind of my natural gravitation. I'd always just kind of pester him, like that one asshole who's asking for the weird league not premiere at the bar. I'm like, hey, can you put this game on? Like, where do you even watch that? I'm like, I don't know, man. Like,
You
gotta figure it out, bro. So yeah, that's kind of just been my whole involvement with the sport. So it's kind of just been just being an asshole at the bar. Really.
Right. And then tell me how that kind of translates into like fault line offenders. Like how did you all come together? We've obviously got your flag here. See you at the SF City games, making noise, getting people fired up. So how did that all kind of begin?
Well, I mean, me and him would always go to like Kezar to watch games. I mean, one of our buddies when he was living here still was a Liverpool fan, so we'd go early, watch games there, stay all day, watch Newcastle, watch fucking Inter Milan. And then, like, dude, I want to go to a game. I'm not going all the way to San Jose. I don't want to be on some MLS shit. I want to be here in the city.
Yeah.
It just made sense. I mean, it's across the street from where we'd hang out. Yeah. And so, I mean, we've known each other for a while through some other stuff, just music and, and all that. And I know him through training. Well, one of our buddies trains at his gym. They fight together out of that gym. So we kind of linked up that way. And, he was on the same kind of football shit we were on, and it just kind of worked out, and started meeting up and coming to games, and that was that. Yeah, all the guys in it we kind of already just knew,
right?
Which is cool. Yeah,
It is super sick because it was really just a transference of whatever like over the top excessive energy we were doing at Kezar at like 6 o'clock in the morning, just to outside, which is like way more acceptable, right? I know you've heard me at the games. Could you imagine that, hearing the first thing you're hearing in the morning? You haven't even had your coffee yet, it's ridiculous. So this was just like the natural next step, right? Why not? Like he said, we were 5 steps away from the pitch.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't we be there, So.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Nice. And then you met these all through fighting?
Yeah, I met Elliot, so adjacent to these boys now, through one of the guys, Connor, from my gym. And then our boy Tim from the YOFC. I went to my first game with him. We just go, you want to come down, watch some football on the weekend? I was like, actually, yes. I feel like it's something that I was missing once I moved here. So I've been here 7 years now, and like went to a couple games last season, went to the last 3 or 4 here this season, and just fell right back into it, like to the point where I picked up the megaphone and the drum and started making some noise again.
Yeah, I think I moved here like similar time to you, like maybe I've been here like a year less, but similarly, like from when I was still in London, I was like, researching, obviously know about like the earthquakes and whatnot, and MLS were being like, like what's going on in San Francisco, found out about the club, was like wicked, like that's going to be my club, like was telling all my like friends, was like, whenever anyone comes visit, blah, blah, blah. Then immediately the pandemic, and then what I found was just like, your like internal like football body clock just like it just like wouldn't accept it. Like it was just, oh shit, when's the season? Then the season was suddenly like over because it's like it's a short summer season, right? So you're looking at like 6 home games like at most. And so I've been a member for 2 years, but yeah, this is the first year kind of going to every home game, and it does feel like so different. And I cannot imagine that there's this much kind of going on, like in terms of like energy and just like fire, like literally and like whatever, like metaphorically, like for any other like USL 2 teams, like in the right, there's some evidence of it there, like in the US or like in North America. So yeah, I'm kind of interested to hear about like your experience, like supporting other clubs. Like I know you've been to some of the away games. Obviously, your experience like in Sydney and like in Australia, and how you would kind of like compare, I guess, like the nuances of like football fan culture like in San Francisco and for SF City specifically.
All right, I'll go.
Yeah, I'll go first.
first going to the games for Sydney was just going to get drunk and yell at someone. Just get it out, just yell at someone. And then being there a few years in, starting to get to know the people who were going, ended up living with the capo at one point, making banners, merch, selling the merch at the home games, at the pub before the game, getting banned and having to watch it at the pub for 5 years. So there was a few of us, it'll tick through, there'd be like 3, and then one would get unbanned, and then I get unbanned, and then someone else get banned. It's just those people, but those people stayed and helped out the supporters by staying in the pub and selling the merch and doing all that sort of stuff. So getting involved in active support was like, it just appealed to me, just help good community with the boys and the girls that were there. We had a good home pub that let us paint banners there for a bit. Just felt like that was missing. So then when I came down, and there's no big team here in SF, you got to go down to San Jose, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I remember there talk about being something happening at SF Giants Stadium. They were going to put a team there, and I don't know, I never followed up with it, but I guess it obviously never happened. So finding something close to home, these guys like, come down, have a laugh, it'll be fun, and it was great, and just fell right back into the old things, you know?
Yeah.
So really just trying to find the line where we can get more active support going. I hate to say this, but it's very American right now, and as an outsider, Americans get a lot of shit for their support for football, the way they sing, because, you know, like the fans.
Yeah.
But that's not what's going on here. And I was like, all right, cool. I don't want to change what they're doing. I just want to help them just grow a little bit.
Yeah.
And then once we get them into that position, they can take over and they can add more stuff to it.
Yeah.
Do their own thing, you know?
Yeah, no, maybe we'll get into that like chanting and stuff in a bit, but I'm interested to hear, both of your kind of like response to the question, and I've definitely got some follow-up stuff.
I mean, to agree with him though, it's like completely different. Like watching, whatever recaps at these games for different derbies, whatever have you, the supports can just night and day. It's like polar opposite, right?
Yeah.
Like when we go to these games and we kind of do our thing, we are definitely, I feel like to myself, like kind of the rogue element there, right? Because it's like, it's a family friendly space, but when you have a bald guy walking across the pitch screaming obscenities, you're like, oh my God, like what's going on? You know? Right? Like, so it's definitely has been this kind of like bracing thing where it's like, well, this is what we're here to do. This is what we enjoy to do. And like, truly, like you get with the program or stick to your own, like that's just kind of how I feel.
Right.
I feel like it's something that city needs. It's like they're already kind of going in that direction with the kind of support they're getting. It's really cool. It's not just, a bunch of moms and dads sitting there silent. Like it's loud. We went to Treasure Island and they didn't make a peep. And the city section was just screaming and yelling the entire time. I mean, the barricades were getting knocked over. It's just chaos, And I feel like there's a little bit of danger that makes it fun at the football match like that. It's like, it's lively. People see that, they want to hang out, they want to sit on that section. Like I don't want to sit over there. They're not doing anything.
Right.
They're just staring at their phone. We're over here jumping up and down and screaming and yelling, lighting flares, and it's fun. It's exciting. It's part of what football is to me, at least.
Yeah.
It's if we can bring that kind of energy and get everybody on board and kind of build up a supporter section by just being loud and doing what we do, I mean, then fucking so be it. That's kind of the goal.
Yeah, why not make these matches more of an attraction and destination than they already are?
Yeah.
If you have someone who supports the club and you're visiting the city, you're going to go see the game, right? Because it's that like hand sell, that word of mouth. Be like, this is going to be so much fun. You're going to kill it. But now imagine like, well, there's this like second division team that have these absolute psychopaths just like screaming their lungs out for the whole 90 plus minutes that they're there for.
Yeah.
Why not go see what that's about, right?
Right.
And I mean, it's just, I think overall, for anything else, like, it's really that big kind of community roar thing. Not everyone I feel like needs, as much as I want everyone to be loud, like, it doesn't have to happen. It's just a matter that we're all there for the same thing, and that there's that care and that presence,
Yeah.
Especially now with Golden City.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
what's more attractive, the silent,
Their
Golden
games
City
are going to be
section or
so
us?
boring.
No.
They're going to be missing that key element, and
Yeah.
that's what makes people excited to go to the football.
So it's more important even now to just kind of build out that sports
Yes.
section for City because, I mean, if it's a boring game, no one wants to go. They're going to go to
Yeah.
some other game. They're not going to care about it anymore. If we care, other people are going to care.
Yeah, I mean, I think what you lot are saying like resonates in terms of just like football, like actually like meaning something. Like, and I think that what you're talking about is like really like transmitting that like meaning, that passion, that connection, that every supporter of every football club, less so probably in the US, but like, just talking about like Latin America and like European like clubs kind of as, the more kind of like traditional kind of like strongholds for this like culture, right? Where it's kind of like emerged from, where there is an identity, there is a representation behind every club. It isn't just a kind of, like just a product, right? Like I maybe slightly unkindly, but when I'm talking to like my friends back home, like I compare like a lot of like US sports to like just supporting a shopping mall. Like it might be here, it might be there next season. This guy owns it. It's actually just a business thing. Like, whereas you're talking about like football clubs that were just like, founded in the 1800s. One might have been a butcher's, one might have been a cricket club, one might have just been like a boys club. And like these things like really kind of go through this like generational kind of like organic like growth where they actually like retain that identity. And I think when you're talking about like going to a city, wanting to go to the football matches, what I want to see in those contexts is like a club that represents that city.
100%.
That is like a complete embodiment. And in bigger cities, say like London, they embody like the different subsets of the city, like very like specifically. And I think that that's something that, it is political because everything is, right? But like, I think that that's something that people I've found through conversations in the US, I don't really understand as much. Like you talk about being a Celtic fan, probably no more political club than Celtic and the rivalry with Rangers, right? And having conversations with people here, there's kind of, I've had interactions with like good friends, they're like, no, but like, why is it political? Like, why would you do that? Like, and it's just like, it's kind of, no one's really like doing it. Like, this is the identity of the club, right? And these things like mean something. So, referencing like Golden City FC for anyone that's like watching that doesn't know that, we've touched on it in like a few other episodes, but it's a new club founded by like finance execs, backed by the mayor of San Francisco, who said finance execs have given hundreds and thousands of dollars to, in the form of contributions to the non-profit organization that he founded, and then stepped down from that role in order to be able to take up the office of like mayor. He's backing them like fully, and that is a new club that's coming in and displacing SF City FC from our home essentially, right? And that's not just something that you can just like artificially just like engineer. This like meaning, this identity, and the kind of things that you're saying that club's going to be missing out on, because there's I don't know, artificial is just like the only way that I can kind of like describe it. It's just this like commodification of like identity. You're just trying to, it's like a marketing exercise essentially.
They've taken the stadium, they've taken the colours, they've taken half the name.
Yep.
Football is and was always for the working class.
Right.
They're trying to buy their way into the culture, and I think they're going to fail at it. Just by seeing what SF City FC is doing, and Keysar Union, the Northerners, all the other crews that are there, our boys, that's going to be hard for them to replicate.
Yeah.
And they're going to wish that they had people like us to go to those games, because they can put $10 million into a stadium. It's going to buy them new seats. Job done. They're not going to build a bigger stadium.
Right.
They're not going to upgrade the pitch. They're not going to do anything. They've got their money. They've got their handshake with the political donors. Those donors have their developers. Developers are going to get paid. We're going to get new seats and a new team. Wow.
Right. New
No
seats.
song.
You're going to get a group of fans
Yeah.
that want to sit down. Like that's kind of what you're paying for.
Exactly.
It's fine. I never said this show was unbiased.
This is why. And the opinion of everyone.
Oh yeah.
But I don't know, I guess to to kind of like deviate like slightly, but not really, like talking about that kind of like identity side of like sports, right? So, you know, I know that, you know, we've spoken before in terms of like the punk scene, the kind of like sharps like culture, and that side of, you know, there's a lot of kind of like music and like art kind of involved in what you do and like kind of like your identity. We obviously see a lot of it like through the banners, which I think is really interesting in terms of the three supporter groups that we've been interviewing. So you're the third one on the show. So we had Kizar Union, so they're the high schoolers. We've had the Northsiders, who are essentially like the OG supporter group, who I think have done a lot to essentially like set the foundation for what the identity of the club is, and kind of, you know, probably like dictated a lot of the kind of like anti-fascist kind of like stance that the club really holds, which I think is very representative of, you know, of San Francisco, like in its best like, you know, elements. And so I was kind of interested to kind of talk a bit about like the Sharps culture, how that kind of is part of the identity of the Fault Line Offenders, and just for anyone that isn't aware of, you know, of kind of that movement, of that scene.
Well, so Sharp, if people don't know, is Skinheads Against Racial Prejudice. So skinhead culture back in the, you know, 70s, 80s was, you know, not what people know as modern skinheads, you know. So there's still a group of people that keep that going, and it's very anti-racist and anti-fascist. And since that came from, you know, England, Jamaica, I mean, that's a big football culture.
Yeah.
I mean, that kind of crowd just followed through even to over here. So with skinhead and casual and that kind of style, it just follows football everywhere, you know. And so that's just kind of what we came from, being in punk and hardcore, and then progressing to skinhead and sharp, you know, in the Bay Area. That's all these guys do is football, music, and yeah, fucking around. I don't know. I mean, it's very simple, you know, what we do, and we just have a good time, and naturally we adopt, you know, the same look into the stadium.
Right. Yeah, I think that's kind of like the fascinating thing in terms of, you know, like you said, like that like original skinhead movement was born out of like multicultural spaces, multicultural appreciation,
And the working class.
the working class. I think like more like up north, right? Like Midlands kind of like spaces, like in the UK, and a lot of like, those shared spaces, Caribbean, West Indian influences, kind of like ska, reggae,
Yes.
that like rude boy kind of like
The
culture.
rocksteady, that whole big, it's a big wave for the protos, like first 69 moving onwards. That's like the big thing for it, for sure.
Right. And then there was a moment which, you know, if anyone that's seen like This Is England and like Shane Meadows' film, highly recommended. I think anyone that's ever, you know, spent time with me or is like a friend of mine, I've probably sat them down and made them watch that film. Anyone not from England has probably already seen it. That really like touches on it in quite a poignant way in terms of kind of understanding in, you know, that Thatcher, Britain, the country really kind of like bleak, on its knees, the rise of like the National Front, the far right movements, I think, and please stop me if I'm like misspeaking at any point, like really kind of like targeting disenfranchised youth, and then at some point that aesthetic kind of getting co-opted by like young fascist Nazis, the NF, which then obviously then, you know, evolves and takes various forms in the UK in terms of like the British National Party and EDL, and now we're talking about like Britain First, and, you know, I guess even rebranded to the extent of like things like UKIP and now like Nigel Farage's like Reform Party and that kind of thing. But yeah, I thought it was just important to kind of like highlight that original skinhead kind of like culture, so that that's not like misconstrued by anyone.
Because that's
like
happening
watching.
here now still.
Yeah.
You know, the political climate it's coming back to that. You see a lot of people kind of targeting, you know, kids at now shows and backyard shows and like these areas that are known to have like pre-existing white power movements, and so they're getting to these kids through punk, which is normally very anti-fascist and all that, and kind of sneaking their way back in. And same with, I mean, football in England. I mean, that's how they used to recruit National Front guys.
Right.
I mean, if you've read Amongst the Thugs, there's a whole chapter where the guy is like in a bar, in an NF bar, watching all these kids get picked up by dudes in suits and like thrown into football firms trying to get them to come over to, NF.
Yeah.
It's just anywhere you can find angry, poor,
Yeah.
working class youth, easily impressionable.
Right.
You're gonna go after that, right? So if you got a group of guys that are on the opposite end of that, in the same spaces, it's gonna create tension, but you're gonna have that option to steer them away from that.
Yeah.
Whether it's football or going to, DJ nights and he's playing reggae records and we're meeting young kids that want to get into skinhead stuff.
Yeah.
You're on the right side of it.
Yeah.
Just something we try to do every once in a while. We do like a trad skinhead night. We play like rocksteady, ska, the whole deal, traditional, like all the older stuff. So it's a good time.
Nice. Yeah, I honestly didn't ever imagine I'd find that scene in San Francisco and stuff. So
I think anywhere where there are disenfranchised and angry people, you'll always find counterculture. And it just really depends on the individual culture of the greater area that's going to dictate that. And I feel luckily for the sake of California, it's very diverse and has always been strongly, at least in my opinion, where we're standing now, on the correct side of how we need to push back against a lot of these things. So it's just a natural progression, right?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, and I think that with SFC EFC, one of the things that we've been talking about with the other groups is, essentially how much the club does that job as well. Like what we were talking about before in terms of embodying the city, the spirit of the city, and having these three supporter groups that on the surface may seemingly kind of appear to be radically different to an extent, but there's absolutely a through line, right?
Yeah.
And you three are, the same stands, same part of the stadium. We'll see what that looks like post Kizar, which looks like the most likely kind of outcome after this season, which just finished recently. But I think that there's three really important perspectives and almost I don't know, tools or weapons or approaches to kind of channel that passion, that support, and you're saying, Flossy kind of pushing the club forward as well. So yeah, I don't know if you want to speak to that a little bit in terms of the three groups, the relationships, that kind of, even planning for next season, what that kind of looks like.
I think the relationship, at least with us, with the two other groups, is fantastic.
Yeah.
We've talked to some of the Northsider guys, and they're elated to have us there at the park.
Yeah.
Saying in the Kizar Union kids, they're oh, we want to hang out with you guys. I was I don't think that's a great idea for you, but you can be in our section, that's fine, But it's been going great. There's been this just let seamless integration. And of course, when you bring in the casuals or the ultra side of things, it can always get just a little rowdy. But they're really let you guys do your thing. There's this doesn't need to be this greater clash of individual central culture. Just the point you're making is we all are standing on the same anti-racist, anti-fascist, city first, community first values, right?
Yeah.
And I think that has just been what's made this so or such a seamless experience with us being integrated into the pitch.
Yeah.
Community is a big part of it, the camaraderie. It makes you feel like you're a part of something. Now, if we can get those three elements, the Northsiders, Kizar Union, and us, to gel really good, I have hella ideas for the boys. Don't want to push out what they're already doing. Just want to add to it. Make the experience bigger and better.
Right.
Getting them to learn songs and have more diverse songs instead of the three or four that we've got at the moment. Yelling out old, when we first started at Sydney FC, I feel like we're at that point now.
Mm-hmm.
Australia was very defense, no singing, no drums. You needed the old NSL immigrant teams for that.
Yeah.
Because you got the new league, everyone's sitting there, it's football.
Right.
Yeah, sit down, don't say anything. Then it evolved as the years went on, the decades went on, and now it's something beautiful. So I feel like the basis, the foundation's already there, and it can only go up.
Yeah.
Regardless of what stadium we're at.
Yeah, so for me, it's we all have the same, I guess, core values as to how we fall politically, but the way we kind of get there is very different, and we're loud and kind of crass and say a lot of crazy shit, and we're yelling and then lighting,
smoke under the other, the away section chairs, stuff like that. We don't really expect everybody to kind of be down with, so having our kind of thing is important, how we get down, but like grouping kind of under one banner, one section is really important. Like Flossy was saying with the songs and with the drums and getting everybody kind of more tightened up as a whole group, because that's what really brings up that atmosphere. It's like, yeah, we're all kind of yelling and screaming different things and it's just loud, but when it's loud all together, it's cool. So it's way better, and to me it looks like more of a fun time for outsiders. They're like, that section's just a bunch of drunk guys screaming and yelling a bunch of shit at each other. Why? I don't want to sit over there. But when everybody's jumping and singing and yelling together, it's like.
So my
a
idea
lot more
would be, here we have our Keysar Union Northerners fault line.
Yeah.
But they all fall under the one banner. So you can be with your crew. Cool. But we all support the club at this banner. So it doesn't have to be club banner. We can make a new one, whatever. So like for Sydney FC, it's the Cove. Sydney Cove, Bay 23. It was even good because they knocked down the stadium with Bay 23, but when they built the new one, they put it back just for us. So that's our identity, and they stayed true to that, which was good. Finding a name, whatever it would be, I think would be a good idea to unify all three of the supporter groups.
To Flossy's point, I feel like a lot of major teams, they have their one banner section. Like it'll normally be like the North Court Curve or whatever, right? They have an area where all the supporter groups meet, and I think that's, to me, it's like what the biggest thing that is missing from at least the fan identity of San Francisco City, right? And it's great that we do all individually have our own banners. We have our own applications of ourselves at the games too, but again, like to reiterate what Flossy is saying, we are missing the unified singular identity.
It'll grow it better that way too. People know where to go if they want to sit with us. Yeah, they get to see us and hear us, but it's like you said, the Cove. Oh, like we want to sit with the Cove. We want to sit with the city support section and whatever that name would be, and then you find what you like from there. People want to hang out with Keysar Union or Northsiders or us, depending on how they like to get down. That's
just see you want to drink with before and after the game, maybe even during.
Yes.
But we all sing as one.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I feel like people coming with kids, they might want to just be as far away from you.
If you're bringing your little 6-year-old over to a section, like that's a whole nother conversation.
Right, but there's like a family, and that's how it works, right? You know which stands kind of stand for what, and like you pick and choose like depending on whatever flavor you're
playing
up
with
to.
the flare. His dad let him pick it up and kind of wave it around. I mean, it was dead, but he picked it up. It was interested in it.
Next one, like go run.
And I'm lit when you get the hold of it.
Not a young.
I've definitely heard some pretty, some interesting chants from some of these like 6, 7, 8-year-olds that actually like they're every game as well. Like, but again, that's kind of what you were talking about. This is like the early like baby stage of like a real proper football club. This isn't just like pumping like millions or billions into it to try fast forward it to like 100 years of like relevance. Do you know what I mean? Like this is how it should grow, and this is how it looks like multi-generationally.
That's why they want Keysar Stadium, because they want that.
There's a legacy,
iconic.
They can exploit some of the stuff that's already happened. Like,
and there's football community around there with Keysar Pub.
So many of the pubs are like within like walking distance of there, right? Of like the various, the Tottenham pubs, like Lower Hay.
Mad Dog's there.
Wouldn't step foot in there.
Yeah.
I wouldn't step foot in there.
It's interesting though. I know you brought it up before how these clubs started as maybe something else, like a boys and girls club.
Yeah.
And it kind of grew into what it is now. I mean, these clubs have history from like the 1800s.
Yeah.
Early 1900s.
Yeah.
This is kind of like that first step for City, and with Golden City moving in, it's kind of creating that natural kind of rivalry there, even if it's not the same league. It's going to be that kind of history that follows the club forever if they stick around. Like Celtic Rangers. Why do they hate each other? Because of politics back in the day. It's like now to normal modern fans, it might not mean that much, but to people who were there when it first came up, it's like that's kind of our rivalry and why it matters, because it's the working class versus the money.
Right.
The bureaucrats that want to just pump shit money into it and build something that's not authentic.
Yeah.
And you're gonna have people that are just gonna beef over that forever.
Yeah.
Just kind of a natural progression of the team.
It's true. You see it in a lot of like multi-club cities, right?
Mhm.
Like a lot of that. I mean, AC Milan, Inter Milan, River Plate, Boca Juniors.
Yeah, one's the working class, one's the the
Yeah.
money team.
Yeah, the affluent team versus I think typically the affluent team is usually founded by English people that just kind of like rocked up as well, unsurprisingly. But yeah, I think it's a really like great opportunity for whatever the new home is to really be, dictated by the supporter groups. I think that all three of you's like play such an important role in terms of the identity of the club, and it feels so like already like intertwined with like what SFC EFC is. And I think this kind of this level of like collaboration, when it's kind of just all possibility at this point for like what making a new home could be, I think is one of the positives. And I think that final game of the season against 5-1-0, I think it was,
Yeah.
like you really like saw like sparks of like the promise. Because I feel like that was the, having been at every home game this season, I feel like that's where we saw like the most kind of like harmony between the three groups and like the spectacle of it. I can't imagine having been in any other part of the stadium. And I think that moment like really gave me confidence of like, man, these lot, we're going to follow the club. Like, it doesn't matter where we end up next season. Like, we're all gonna be there for sure, like regardless of like who comes into Kizar, pumps the money in, and like whatever like nonsense is going on there. So I think that was, that kind of like felt me with some optimism as well. I don't know how you all feel about it, but that might be like a good note to end it on.
It's football loyalty. I mean, you pick a club, you stick with that
you
club
don't
until you
change.
fucking die.
And I think with San Francisco, there's always been this very strong synthesis of future culture, like technology or finite. It's been like the big focus for this current mayoral term. But and just working class culture. Like I can go on a whole entire thing about how San Francisco has changed over the years. But that is directly what we're seeing now. We're seeing a bunch of outside money pumping into an area that was built up by people like us. People who are on the street, running around, getting all kinds of shit. Not the people who are sitting up in a big old skyscraper pumping away at a desk all day.
Right.
It's about the people who are on the ground, about the people who actually really give a shit.
Yeah.
If this was a situation where I feel like where I could just buy a box seat and go sit down and have my little catered food and be like, oh, go team, give it to the birds, man. There's nothing I want more than to spill beer all over my boots and scream my fucking throat out, because that's just what brings us all together, like on a very baseline core primal thing, just aside from everything else, right?
Yeah.
That's just I feel like is what's lacking in this weird echo of football that's like MLS, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, my bad, but
no, that's
That
good,
was
man.
very smart and
I
like
was gonna say some red hot stuff, like if we ever play Golden City, I'm getting deported.
So,
That derby is gonna be sick.
That is
That
gonna
would
be
be great.
a derby
Yeah.
for sure. That is definitely gonna be a derby for sure.
it has to happen.
Has
If
to
not,
happen.
we're
Has
just
to
gonna
happen.
pretend it happens. We're gonna end up at a Golden City game, not
We're gonna end up back on Alcatraz.
Yeah.
It's reopened.
That's our approach to
Yes.
solving the Golden City problem. I don't know law, I don't know politics. I just know how to be loud and an asshole. So.
Yeah, it's gonna be a giant dickhead.
You can't manufacture support.
No.
So it'll be interesting to see what they pull off.
Yeah, it will be very, very interesting to see how that shapes up and what it looks like. And I know in press releases and stuff, they're already making references to their fans. So
Who?
yeah,
The donors.
precisely.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting. Right.
It's really
Yeah,
hard.
looking forward to seeing what they look like.
For the record, we don't light flares, we don't light smoke, we don't steal banners, we don't steal scarves, we don't put stickers on nobody's back. We just sit
We
there
don't
and
get
have a
into
laugh.
fights.
No, there's no violence, there's no vandalism, and there's no arson.
It's just lovers of the game.
Yeah, that's it.
Just
You
that's,
got it.
that is all. It's love for the game.
Just lovers of the game. Never
Home or
in
away will
doubt.
ruin your day.
Yeah, oh yeah.
It's like a metaphor, you know. We're not gonna get into it. That's all.
Well, yeah. Thank you so much to the three of you.
Thanks for having me.
Possum,
Thank you.
Flossy, Gadget. Yeah, Fault Line Offenders. It's been really great chatting with you all. Really appreciate getting your lot's perspective. And yeah, this has been another episode of Public Access FC. Thanks for watching. We're gonna take like a little, I don't know, couple weeks, month, kind of like summer break. But yeah, we've got some really good guests kind of lined up from the SF City, San Francisco world, but also from further afield. We'll have our first episode in Spanish with some special guests from Colombia soon as well. So yeah, stay tuned. Thanks.